If you do not have color pencils, don't worry about it. You can use just graphite in the long run, but if you do have color pencils, I highly suggest to complete it that way. But the very first thing is I want you to notice is that I have a piece of paper that is just white. If you have gray paper or white paper, it works awesome to have color backgrounds with watercolor as well. So if you have a construction paper, for example, it's a little on the thin side, but if you have a thicker one, it would work with colored background, but I would suggest to use a neutral tone such as grays or a light brown, for example. But if you notice, my photograph that I had taken of the blueberries has a white background, so I'm choosing to have white paper. I do suggest, like I said, a little thicker paper, such as sketchbook paper if you have it, or if you have just a little bit thicker paper in general, like your printer paper. My printer paper is quite thick, so if you have something like that. So very first thing we're going to do is we're going to start drawing. I do not suggest to make a drawing very large. So here, my actual image size, if you notice, I placed a box around my area that I'm going to be drawing in, and I only have it 5 by 7. So you can choose to do something around there. I wouldn't do anything smaller, however, so 5 by 7 I would say is the smallest that you can go. What I want to show you here is that when you are drawing, that you should be looking at objects above and below and surrounding it to see how they interact with one another. So this blueberry right here actually is pushed to the left-hand side of the blueberry above. So when you are drawing, I want you to think of things as shapes and what angles that they are actually at. So here, this blueberry is not a circle, it's an oval, and the blueberry below is hidden. So here you're noticing that I'm only drawing some marks that are suggesting where that blueberry is peeking through. A lot of times when I am drawing, I tend to draw with straight lines. And the reason why I tend to draw with straight lines instead of curved lines most of the time to start off with is because it helps me look at angles. What direction are they facing on the piece of paper? So as I'm moving along, you might notice that the lemon I drew with straight lines. These blueberries that I'm drawing right here, a lot of them, if you look quite carefully, especially this one right here, I have many flat sides on it. When you're looking at the actual blueberries themselves, not many of them are perfect little circles because something is blocking them or there's dark shadows that are within it. So don't worry if you guys make mistakes. That's why we're also drawing it in pencil. So you'll find out that, hey, maybe I need to erase something, see? Or you find that you need to shift things around. That is totally fine. We want you to try to be as accurate as you possibly can. If you do not like this blueberry photograph that I have for you, you can take a photograph yourself. However, we want to double check your images before you guys begin because it can become too complicated or maybe it's not the best thing for a color pencil or whatever if you're doing graphite. If you're doing graphite, we expect you to have it full range of value, so as detailed as possible with that graphite pencil. But if you do have color pencils, I highly suggest to use them. So here I am just kind of blocking in the rest of my blueberries. If you notice when you guys get down to the bottom of your piece of paper or towards your top of your piece of paper, you find out that you don't have enough space or something like that, that is totally fine. Here I actually have all my little spaces within inside of it. But I have a lot of practice. So I like to start where there's the main details. So if you notice, I started with the lemon and then the leaf, and then I moved down from that area. This helps me figure out where things are going to be located, and who cares if there's a blueberry missing on the bottom. So now I am going in, after I have all my blueberries in the locations that I want them to be, now you start going in and you start detailing it. So here I'm looking at the little pieces inside the blueberries. This is also the time that I start shaping my blueberries more accurately. So if you notice the edges of your blueberries are too curved or too flat or any of those type of things, that's where you go in at this time to start fixing those areas. So take your time when you are drawing. The thing is that whenever you're doing a drawing that is going to either have a painting or color pencil or graphite shading over the top of it, it has to be accurate to begin with because you cannot really fix it 100% to end. So here I'm not doing all the details. If you notice inside my lemon, I don't have all those little stripes in there. I'm going to be shading those in. So take your time. So once you have completed your drawing, we are going to be moving on to color pencil practicing. If you are not using color pencils, then you should be practicing within your graphite. So that means just regular pencil, okay, for shading. So here I have different options for how to blend. So for blending, you could use nail polish remover, you could use coconut oil, baby oil, I do not have that, or I also just use color pencils. So you do not have to have all of these other things. So if you notice the one on the two on the top, one's nail polish, one's color pencil. So here I am showing you that I have Crayola pencils, and I also have Prismacolor pencils. I also have a brush, I have some Q-tips to use. And then, like I said, I have nail polish remover, and I also have coconut oil. So you do not have to have all of these items, but I do want you to test out some of them so that you can see. Here I have my kids, my 3 to 6-year-old kids, color pencils to prove to you guys that you do not have to have these Prismacolor pencils throughout it. So here I already have drawn for you a couple examples so that you don't have to watch me do it the whole time. I am going to use a Q-tip just in case you guys don't have color pencils or paintbrushes at home. So first off, you could either use a pencil or you could go straight to your color pencil. I do highly suggest to practice before you guys move on to figure out what way and what techniques work best for you. So I am using a dark indigo blue, I believe it was, to just do a very gentle shading. Remember, with color pencil, you always want to be gentle with it, because if you press really hard on it, it ends up making like a waxy surface on your piece of paper, which you are not able to actually fix. Here I'm going to place some whites where I want the whites. This is a Prismacolor white pencil, and if you notice, it left residue. So look at it. The Crayola white color pencil is actually white. So even some of the times the cheaper color pencils work even nicer. I'm going to put a light blue over the top of my entire circle. Where I have placed that white color pencil, once I have placed the nail polish over the top of it, it will stay white, which is pretty cool. So when we get to the lemon, for example, the lemon has a lot of whites in it, but then a lot of lines in it. It might end up helping you there. So here I'm just writing nail polish, which I would like you guys to do as well. I'm going to take a Q-tip. If you have nail polish, you don't have to do it. If you are doing it, I'm going to show you if you can use a Q-tip or if you're going to use a paintbrush. You want to reduce as much as possible on how much nail polish is actually in there. So if you notice, my piece of paper is wet. I don't have any more paper left to actually absorb any of that, so I'm going to rip off some more paper right now. What your goal is to have the Q-tip not have anything showing up anymore. So if you notice, my Q-tip is no longer making my paper wet. That is when you know that you can start using it to actually blend in your color. The thing about blending in with nail polish is that it has a slight smell to it, but not crazy amount. But just know is that there is actually chemicals that you can purchase for blending color pencils out. But what I like to do is I will use this, which I actually have a different medium that's actually for color pencils, but this you can use at something cheap at home that you might have, but you want to use it for base color. Once you get the base color, you're just shading over the top of it. Here I'm doing the same exact thing, except now I'm going to use coconut oil in case you do not have nail polish. Technically, olive oil works too, but olive oil has a yellow tone to it, which then ends up changing the color of your color pencil a little bit, and it yellows over time. Where the nail polish does not have much of a color, even if yours is slightly pink or purple, it won't affect the color pencil. If you notice the coconut oil, as I'm putting it down, it actually smears it a little bit more and it makes it a little bit brighter. However, it has a slight glossy tone to it, so later on it gets harder to actually control your pencil. But if this is all you have, it works. Now I'm going to show you that technically you can do this without any of it. It just takes a little bit more time. So it's going to take longer. I just did 8 times the speed right there to just shade in that space. However, you have to avoid your whites. So if you notice, I have a white space on that I had avoided. Now I'm going back over the top of my nail polish area. You need to make sure it is dry prior. So here I'm just going to start adding some values into it. I am actually going to create a blueberry. So if you start looking at my blueberries on the left, I am doing the same thing I did for those over here. So the one on the bottom, you're going to be able to see the white paper, but the more layers that you put on it, I can, to be honest, cannot tell difference, and I'm sitting right in front of it between the nail polish one and the color pencil only one on the left there because of the amount of layers that you can put on it. However, the one on the bottom probably took me twice as long as the one on the top. It is up to you though on how you want to achieve your blueberries. By using the darker values, what I find that I like with color pencils a lot is to use analogous colors as well. So here I'm adding purple into those darker points, which is going to actually bring out the color of the blueberry a little bit more because the blueberry is not just blue. So if you look at it, it has some purple tones in it. So here I'm just using a violet that's a Crayola violet to add just a couple pops into certain spots that I feel like need to be darker for the blueberry. I am not going to actually finish these blueberries. I have some finished on the left hand side for you, but this is the same process I did for those. Now to make things even darker, remember we talked about complementary colors. So here I have an orangish brown that you can use, or you could just use orange. I'm going to use the orange or brown just to pop it. On the left hand side, I actually did use the orange, and it made a very nice color as well, especially since we're going to have the lemon hitting some of our blueberries, which is going to add a warm glow on some of them. But now I'm going to take that indigo blue and place it back over the top of it again, which you can use any blue that you want. Just try to get it one that makes sense for a blueberry or whatever you are drawing. So here you're going to continue until you end up coming out with an image that looks like this. Okay, so practice. Okay, I understand this is a, you don't have to do all 4 or all 3 different types, but if you notice the ones on the right, if you're like, ooh, the coconut oil is not for me, then just stop at that point. The white, there is some people that will say you can blend with white. Yes, when you are 100% done with your piece, you could take a white color pencil and place it over the top. However, it makes everything a little bit lighter. So it'll end up being something that you cannot add over the top as well. So it's a little bit waxy. So I want you to try all of these before you go on to your actual drawing. Because what if you find out that the nail polish is something that you really like? Or you find out that just regular pencil that we did before is something you're more comfortable with. So please try messing around with this for a little bit, and then we'll see where you guys are at from there. And please turn it in so that we could give you some input, or if you guys have questions, please let us know.